Welcome back, everybody, to Speaking Sports, brought to you by the Harvard Undergraduate Sports Lab. Again, I'm John Thomas Borowitz.
And I'm Reed Trimble.
And for Hustle, the organization in charge of kind of us, this last weekend we had our biggest event of the year, the Harvard Sports Business Conference, headlined by two big names, and Josh Harris, who is the owner of the Washington Commanders, and Ryan Fitzpatrick, who was a NFL quarterback for 9 different teams and is actually a Harvard alum. So
the best QB in Harvard history.
Exactly, and other speakers included Bill Duffy, who's NBA super agent for Luka Doncic, for Brennan Nescu.
Didn't get us a 10-day though. So
no, he didn't. So I guess he's not that good, but he's pretty good. But featured a lot of other big speakers. I would say it was a successful conference. We sold out with our 450 quota of tickets.
We did.
Completely sold out. At 9 in the morning for Fitzy, we had over 250, which was way higher than we expected. So
yeah,
it was a good day
for Saturday morning and on Halloween weekend.
Exactly. So the Harvard community showed out. We had students from Brown, Boston College, all over the Boston metro area. So thank you to everybody that showed up, and thank you for the speakers that decided to come out. Thank you to Hustle Board for putting it on.
If you want a little bit more on the conference, I know Sports Business Journal wrote a little article on it, and you can be checking your Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube for the Coop Scoop with yours truly, us too. So, thankful to the Harvard Coop for sponsoring our little segment where we got to do some more personal style interviews with the speakers outside of their actual keynotes and panels.
You know, it's not really what I guess the speakers were expecting. They thought everything was going to stick to sports business. Well, we took the opportunity and the time we had with the speakers to ask them more personal questions about their families, about their facial hair, about everything about them. You name it, we probably asked it. So, and you might be wondering why there's an empty chair right here. Well, here in a matter of 3 minutes, Harvard water polo player James Rosales Hill, who is actually Harvard's all-time leading water polo scorer, will be joining us.
As a junior.
So he's still got the rest of this season and next year to extend his lead on Harvard history, but he'll be here in just a little bit. So.
Yep. Before that, I came here straight from the Harvard men's basketball opener against Marist, the Red Foxes. So it's a really good showing for the Crimson, honestly. Very strong. You know, freshman sensation Robert Hinton's supposed to come in, supposed to be the dude right away. You know, can be kind of hard for some freshmen sometimes, but I left with about 3 minutes left and we were up about 20 points because I needed to come here to film this. He was at 22, so definitely a strong showing from him. Team in general just had really good chemistry, a lot of sharing the rock, a lot of good motion on offense by Coach Amaker. He kind of killed him with some of his sets. Every time Amaker went to that playbook, they got two or 3 points. So really excited to see.
Which is all you need for a young team to get them going. I saw that Harvard was only a 3.5-point favorite, so it was supposed to be a close game. But
you know, it's kind of hard to tell whenever you get a team as young as Harvard is, especially. Let's see, I know we start 1 freshman, 2 sophomores, a junior, and a senior. And then you've got another expected leader of the team in Louis Lesman, who's currently injured. I don't remember seeing the timetable on that. I know he hurt his foot. I don't know how long he'll be out, but should be an exciting year for the Crimson.
I believe 2 to 3 weeks. I ran into him in the elevator the other day. He's actually in my dorm. I ran into him and I saw he was in a boot thing, and I asked him how long he was out, and he said he'll only have to miss a couple games. So based on
good news.
The math will be probably around a month if I looked at the schedule.
Yeah, so should be back for Ivy League play.
Do you know where Marist is from?
New York.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I looked on ESPN who we were playing, and I thought it said Marxist. So it was like, are we bringing in a Russian team, or what are we doing? But I guess a small college from New York, but they apparently are pretty good.
They are red, but there was no scare from them tonight. Harvard, we kind of controlled the game for pretty much the entirety. Marist made a few runs, but I don't know if I think we trailed early. We scored a 2 to open it, and they hit a 3, but other than that,
any fans there?
Not much trail.
Many fans there?
I'd say 75% capacity.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
60, 75, somewhere
Harvard
in there.
faithful showed up.
Harvard faithful, yeah.
In other Harvard news, I did see that Harvard soccer, Saturday afternoon, women's soccer took a huge W, I believe 3-1 against Yale. It's
Always
always a
good to
good
beat
day.
Yale.
Always a good day. We were at the Hustle event, so we didn't get to watch. I heard that the place was packed because they offered free food to all students that showed
Always
up.
works.
Exactly, and anytime to eat something other than dining hall food is a success.
Speaking of great Harvard wins that happened when we were at the conference, how about that football team?
Amen. Got a big win on the road at Dartmouth.
Huge win.
We were down 10 and late in the fourth quarter.
2 late rushing touchdowns from DePrima.
That always seems to find its way in the end zone, Mr. DePrima. Actually, Saturday morning at about 6 in the morning when Brian Burns, who's a senior, used to play football, but one of our good buddies in Hustle, him and I were loading stuff into his car in front of Leverett House, and across the street walked DePrima headed to the facility. So we kind of gave him a little good luck, and he
Undoubtedly
pulled
it
through.
worked.
Undoubtedly so.
So that gives the Crimson kind of the driver's seat in the Ivy League.
Absolutely.
Path to repeating as champions in Coach Arick's first year.
The best thing, we have 3 games left, and the best part about it is the season finale. The bookend will be at home against Yale, but I also saw in Harvard news that Harvard was considering allowing us
the
to
Ivy
play.
League.
Yes, the Ivy League in total, correct, was considering allowing Ivy League football teams to play in postseason. So how it kind of works
Fingers
is
crossed.
it's similar to how basketball works in NCAA. So for FCS, they allow, I believe, 25, I think is the number. It's I think 25 make postseason. A certain number of them get a bye, and then they play just single elimination. And it's teams from all over the country. So I think the Ivy League is considering allowing their teams to play in that. I'm not sure how some teams will vote for it. I know Harvard in its history has been against that just because we're so in favor of
Academics.
prioritizing academics, and when they would be playing is during finals time. And I know that's a very serious issue, so we'll see. But we'll be back with James in just a second.
Absolutely.
All right, welcome back here to Speaking Sports. We have our guest, Mr. James Rosales Hill, junior on the water polo team from Huntington Beach, California, fresh out of practice and treatment. How was it, James?
It was good. Good practice today. Nothing crazy. Just a little walkthrough. Treatment went well. Yeah,
Nice.
got my shoulders all healed up.
Well,
so.
you better, because them shoulders have got you the most goals in Harvard water polo history. Tell me what that moment was like, winning that. I saw the photos of like the little like mini ceremony that was after the game. Tell us what that moment was like, how you scored that goal to get you over the record. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it was obviously one of the best moments of my water polo career. Really cool. I said this when I was talking to someone else, but just to be like a small part of like the history at Harvard, which is the world's greatest institution, is like something I'll remember forever. Yeah, and it was really cool. I knew I was close to breaking it. So my mom and sister came out to see the game, which was really awesome. My roommates were there, my friends were there as well. So it was really cool. The shot that I actually broke the record with, I probably practiced like 1,000 times in high school. And so I was really comfortable with it. The goalie was off his line a little, so I knew by the second fake, I knew I was going to shoot it. Ended up going in, and yeah, it was awesome. Second goal of the game. I think I had a hat trick within the first half of the first quarter of that game, so I got out all the nerves.
Just saying,
Nice.
just a casual
Just
hat
a
trick.
tiny little hat trick.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, it was one of the best games I ever played too. I think I shot 100% that game as well. So yeah, it was a good game. Good game.
Wow.
You have a nickname like on the team, or do they just call you James?
Just James, JRH. Yeah,
There you go.
whatever works. Yeah.
Oh man! So hit us with your Harvard intro real quick. Give us the whole, you know the drill.
Yeah. So James Rosales Hill, junior in Mather. I transferred there this year. I was in Forsheimer last year.
Aw, you
Yeah.
were in a better house last year.
No, I couldn't do the quad. I
Aw.
couldn't do the quad anymore. Mather. I'm studying environmental science, public policy, with a field of specialization in public policy, and then I plan on going to law school after this. So yeah.
Nice.
So you're just as much of a student as an athlete.
Yeah.
But I gotta ask you first, do you have any desire to play in Los Angeles in 2028?
Potentially. We'll see.
Is that a possibility?
It is a possibility, yeah,
Oh.
depending on where stuff goes. I started training with like the Olympic team my senior year of high school, and then I came here. So just flying back and forth was a little tough, so I kind of pulled myself out of it. But, wherever I go to law school, we'll see. Maybe in California if I can keep up the training, if I get invited back. We'll see.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what is a recruit? We asked, so a couple weeks ago we had volleyball, or women's volleyball, and a thing that they really were passionate about was how here at Harvard it's so different being an athlete than at other schools. At other schools you have tutors that travel on the bus with you. You have full exemptions from almost all, like a lot of classes. Like you get very special treatment.
Yeah.
Here you're student first.
Yeah.
Like you are a full-time student as well as like a full-time athlete.
Yeah.
Tell us what recruiting is like to an Ivy League school, because that's a very interesting like thing to some people, because like for instance Zion Williamson is a great example when he went to Duke. So he was like the best athlete in the country, but he suffered in grades in high school, but he ended up going to one of the best academic institutions in the world. Well, that's different here.
Yeah.
Your standards are just as high as everybody else. So tell us about getting recruited to an Ivy League school and what that's like and what it's like being a student athlete at Harvard.
Yeah, being a student athlete, just to answer that question, it's definitely hard. You need to manage your time very, very well. You got to make sacrifices. You know, sacrifices are just required. It's the sport of it, I guess. Sacrifices in high school, sacrifices now to kind of prioritize your health. You need to be healthy, because if you aren't healthy, you aren't going to play. And yeah, I guess being recruited. Ted, my coach, made it very clear that like it's different than any other school. You once you get in, you aren't going to get as much help per se as like an athlete. Like my sister went to USC, and she didn't get like a bunch of help, but it was there. She needed it. A bunch of tutors, everything like that. You know, full exemptions from assignments, like you said. And here, that's just not the case. You know, you get maybe a day or two extension on a travel weekend, things like that. So it's definitely difficult, but it's manageable if you need it to be. So yeah, I mean, and then being recruited, like I said, he made it very clear what it was, how it is. But when I got here, it's definitely harder than what he made it sounded like. You know, he's trying to sell the school at the end of the day. But I wouldn't change my decision for anything. If I could go back, I would still choose here. But yeah, I would do things a little differently. Maybe, you know, schedule my classes a little better.
Yeah.
Things like that. But at the end of the day, it's just hard work, you know, sacrifices, and just dedication to your craft. So yeah.
So what's kind of a day in the life of James look like? You know, what time do you guys usually have practice? Do you have to have morning classes because of that? Recovery, how's that look for you?
Yeah, my freshman year, I'd say it was more heavy with morning classes. Now, you know, as you guys know, when you're done with like core requirements from like the school and your concentration, you can kind of explore a little more. So no morning class, no morning practice this year, which is huge.
That's clutch.
So average day, probably wake up at 9:15. You know, do some work in the morning, go to class from 10:30 to 11:45 in that slot, and then class from 12 to 1:15, 2 o'clock, depending on whatever it is, and then practice 3:15 to 7. Lift in a practice, and that's like as soon as I'm done with like my second class of the day, go get my body warm in the ATR athletic training room. And then go to practice, and then do some treatment after practice. Get done at like, time is it now, like 8-ish.
Yeah.
Then get back, eat, do some work, and then call it a night.
So it's never ending.
It's never ending.
So tell us a little bit about how this water polo season has gone. Apparently been a great season so far from what I've seen.
Really good wins on the schedule.
Yes, tell us how it's gone so far, and tell us the outlook on the rest of the year.
Yeah, it's been really good. Probably one of my most successful seasons here. We beat Princeton at Princeton, which puts us in the first seed of the conference right now. We play them again at home on Saturday, and that game will kind of determine who gets the 1 seed going into the conference championship. But it's been really good. We played 2 one-goal games with Pacific, which is a top 4 team in the country. We lost to them both times by 1. We also lost to San Jose State, which is a top 10 team, by 1. All of our losses this year, we really haven't been blown out or lost by more than 2 goals.
Wow.
So it's been really good. We're right there in these close games. And yeah, it's been super successful. This team's really talented. Our freshman classes come in and contributed a lot, which is huge. Because another thing about Ivy League schools is we don't get 20 spots a class. We get 3.
Right.
And then the rest kind of have to, you know, walk on to the sport, which means that you get into the school by yourself, and then you're allowed to participate on the team.
Right.
So it's been really good, really successful season thus far, and hopefully we can keep it going.
Yeah, absolutely. So When would the it's not the Ivy League in this, right? It's the
Northeast Water Polo.
Northeast Water Polo. Okay.
Yeah.
When would the conference tournament for that be?
That's in 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
3 weeks, sorry. So we have our final 3 home games, or final 3 regular season games this weekend. Next week, weekend off, week of training, conference championships.
Okay. And how does the NCAA tournament look for water polo?
Yeah, so it's now it just got revamped. So now it's 8 teams.
Okay.
Our conference only gets 1 bid, so you need to win the conference.
Wow.
Okay.
To go to NCAA. And then every other conference besides the MPSF, which has the perennial Big Four schools, which are Stanford, Cal, UCLA, USC, that conference typically gets 3 bids.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever wins that, and then like whoever got second and third, basically at the conference tournament, and then every other conference gets 1 bid. So yeah.
I sense a theme here. You're from California. All the schools you named that were really good at water polo are from California. So kind of a hotbed, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is a little bit. Southern California especially. Yeah, it's super popular. I didn't realize how popular it is in California until kind of coming back at East, because I always thought it was small in California, but then you kind of realize it's a pretty big deal over there.
Yeah, it's like a hotbed.
So yeah.
So my question is you're a junior. You have the most goals all time. That's very unusual.
Yeah.
What makes you so good at scoring goals? Is it coach drawing up plays? Is it your teammates trusting you? What sets you up to be the all-time goal scorer with a season and a third still left to go in your Harvard career?
Yeah. I think it's a little bit of everything. The system kind of plays to my strength. My teammates, believe and trust in me, and then I kind of just have a knack for scoring the ball. I think my game is very efficient in a sense. I'm not taking like loads of shots. I'm pretty efficient with the shots I take and the shots I score. But yeah, my teammates believe and trust in me. The whole coaching staff believes and trusts in me. And it kind of, I can just play free. Water polo, it's sport at the end of the day.
Yeah.
There's no pressure attached.
Right.
Pressure is like real life stuff. This is just water polo at the end of the day. You kind of just loose, let the game come to you, let the game flow. And yeah.
So if I had to ask you, James, where do you see yourself 15 years from now? Do you want to go back to California after law school? What kind of law do you want to do? That kind of stuff. I'm curious.
Yeah. Ideally, I want to be back in California. I don't know how long I could do the East Coast.
What, you don't like the sun being gone at 4:30?
PM today, yeah, at 4 p.m. Yeah, ideally back in California. I'm part of like a DLA Piper LEAP scholarship program that I applied to last spring, and I got in. So maybe I want to work in Big Law for a bit, see where that takes me. Right now I'm interested in like environmental law, artificial intelligence law. I think that's going to be a big thing in the future, and then corporate law. So I have a bunch of avenues that I can explore, hopefully explore all of them and see which one I like the best.
Following the money.
Exactly. No, maybe. But yeah, back in California probably. I want to be close to my family.
Yeah.
But I could see myself staying in Boston. I really like Boston. I could see myself staying out here for a couple of years, but in 15 years, I think I'll be back in California. Yeah.
Now, what does the professional water polo scene look like? Is it just kind of national teams, or is there kind of a league or anything like that? Or?
Yeah, right now in the United States, there's really nothing. It's like a national league. You really don't get paid for anything. It's kind of just if you want to, you do it. But in Europe, it's like a pretty big deal. But it's one of the best clubs in the world, Pro Reco, just lost like all of its funding, I guess, from like one of the head guy that funded it basically just pulled his funding. So it's kind of sad that one's falling apart. But if you want to go professionally, there's plenty of leagues in Europe to do so. There's just like, at the end of the day, it's not like the NBA or NFL where there's a bunch of money involved, so it's kind of hard to do so.
And Boston's far from California.
Yeah.
Europe's halfway across the world.
Exactly. Yeah, so it'd be difficult. And I always said like I wanted to take water polo as far as it would take me. And if it was like the NBA, the NFL, or the MLB, I would go professionally ideally, but at the end of the day it's not like it, so I wanted to prioritize my education and get the best degree I could.
Well, you're at the right place.
Absolutely.
Did you always know that you wanted to go Ivy League, or was that like a senior year of high school? When did you know like that Harvard was a possibility?
Probably my sophomore year of high school. I didn't really know. I kind of went into the recruiting process with like open ears and just kind of an openness to it. My sister's 4 years older than me, and she went to USC, so I kind of got to see like that athlete experience and how much time they dedicate to just water polo in general and kind of put their education to the side. And I kind of want to prioritize my education. Just because water polo ends at some day, so you kind of want to set yourself up for the future. So I knew I wanted to like pick the best school at the end of the day, and just throughout the recruiting process, it became like clearer and clearer that I was like starting to narrow it down. And I was between, at the end of the day, I was between here and Stanford.
Wow.
So it was a tough decision, both very good schools, and one's like more water polo focused, one's more career focused. And at the end of the day, like, you can't say no to Harvard.
Yeah.
Right?
Amen.
You have a spot at
That's why we're all here.
Exactly.
Exactly.
You have a spot at the best school and the best institution in the world. Like, how do you say no to that?
Amen.
Right? So.
You got anything else?
I think that's it.
Well, James, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for finding time in your busy schedule. I know you got a lot going on. Good luck this weekend against Princeton. And good luck.
Give them the time on that one more time.
5 p.m. at Blodgett Pool this weekend.
So after the football game.
Yeah,
Perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You guys will already be over there. Just
Yep.
stay for a little bit longer.
Amen.
Exactly,
Well,
yeah.
thank you for joining us, James,
Thank
and
you.
good luck. Keep extending that record.
We'll do it.
Exactly.
Thank you,
Go
guys.
Crimson.
Thank
Roll
you.
Crim.